Well, good evening, everyone. It is 7 p.m., April 25th, 2024, and I'd like to welcome everyone in the room and those participating online as I call to order this meeting of the Bellbrook-Sugarcreek Board of Education for the purpose of conducting the school district's business. Is it on? Okay, thank you. We value everyone's input and have made sure to dedicate a portion of this meeting to hear from you since we are kind of in a new location. And thank you so much, Mr. Phelps, Mr. Klein, for having us. If anybody came tonight to speak, the sign up sheet is up here in the front row. But we look forward to hearing your comments during that time as it's indicated on our agenda. Mr. Lyming, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Anderson?
Here.
Mrs. Dorn?
Here.
Mr. Kinsey?
Present.
Mr. Price is absent, and Dr. Pryor.
Present.
Okay, we have a quorum. If you're able, will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right.
Again, welcome to everybody. We're going to do things a little out of turn because I know Mrs. Wellbaum and her students have a busy evening here. So we're going to welcome Mrs. Wellbaum and her students, and they're going to provide some entertainment for us tonight. So thank you.
It's our fifth. It's our fifth grade choir. We had some conflicts with some of our members, but they commit one recess a week to come in and sing together. And we are, they're dedicated and they are very talented, as you will see. We in February made a video and to audition to sing God Bless America at the Dragons game this next week on May 1st. And we found out at the beginning of April that they accepted our audition, and we're very, very excited about that. So around the third inning or so, right around there, we will sing. Now, when we made our video, we just sang the song. But I remembered that last year, one of our students, Aylin, during the talent show, but we have a talent show on basically a virtual talent show, she performed God Bless America with sign language. So I asked her if she would help and lead us in the learning sign languages. She has done a fabulous job with that. I'm really grateful to her because she's been a good leader. So, are you ready, guys? Yeah. God bless America. Land that
So can you guys come back next month? That was awesome. Great job.
Thank you very much. Good luck. Sounded great, and what a great addition of the sign language, and good luck at the Dragons. Hopefully they're leading the victory that night. Yeah, definitely. Thank
you so much.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. And I'm realizing my age. Choir was always my thing back in high school. We actually used a pitch pipe. I've not seen. Of course, there's an app for that now. Of course, so We could pause for a second if anybody wants to go out and spend the rest of the evening with their student. We're certainly not going to be offended. Feel free. Thank you for coming. It's okay. Okay, we can move into correspondence if anybody has anything that they've received for the good of the board. Not hearing anything, so we'll go to reports to the board. And we would like to welcome our Greene County Career Center representative, Mr. Adam Romali. Thank you for being here, sir.
That's great. Yeah. Yep. Is it on? I think we're okay. Okay. Um, Thank you. My report this month involves really looking at where we are this year, where they're headed next year, as well as the graduation ceremony. So next year there will be 48 Bellbrook students entering the Greene County Career Center. That's up about 20% over last year. There's 39 juniors that are turning into seniors. We've got about 42 graduating. So good, well represented at the Career Center. And you're going to see things here recently in the paper with career centers getting additional funding from the state. There's a big emphasis statewide on career centers, career tech edge. And so the state is putting forward $200 million for facilities and another $100 million in machinery and equipment and things like that. Now, from a career center standpoint, especially at Greene County, we just moved into a building three to 4 years ago. It's a beautiful new building. And if you are interested in going out there and seeing the students at work on Saturdays from 10:30 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the Green Room restaurant is open. And so if you want to go out there and have lunch or brunch on a Saturday, and it's only for the next 2 Saturdays. It's this Saturday and May 4th is our last one. So it's a neat opportunity to go out there and see the students at work. Graduation is also May 14th. It'll be at the Nutter Center. Uh, We'll have a senior recognition ceremony at the Nutter Center Tuesday, May 14th. And then the last thing I want to leave you with is earlier this year, two students from the Natural Resources Technology area at the Greene County Career Center came out and talked to Bell Creek Elementary School here, in the intermediate school, and talked to them about the sensory garden they're building. And so, they talked to them about the senses. They tested the soil. They also talked about the water cycle and like that. So it's one of those things where the Career Center really does try and get involved, not only with, looking forward, but also looking back to that next generation of students. And you'll see some of that, some of the STEM books, STEM profiles that they've done from, starting STEM and call it the elementary schools up through junior high. So there's a lot going on to try and, make sure that career centers are available and that parents are aware of what's going on. So with that, that's all I have to report unless there are any questions. All right.
How many kids total are at?
There's about 925, I think, is where we are for next year. And it was 675, 800, 925. We're already at the seam, they built a new school and we're already talking about, okay, what next? Because the population has grown and we expect it to continue to grow. So we're looking at land and we're trying to come up with another, what are we going to do to add to the school?
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? All right.
Look forward to the recognition ceremony. It's always a nice ceremony and see all the other school districts along with obviously Bellbrook students. So
Yep.
it's always a nice ceremony.
I'm looking forward to it. I have a speaking role this year, so I'm suitably nervous. So we'll go from there. Thank you.
Really great.
Thank you very much. Always good stuff. Okay, next reports to the board is our board committee reports. Looks like I'm up first as our OSBA legislative liaison. I really don't have all that much. There was a spring recess that the Ohio legislature went through. And I typically only want to talk about things that are kind of further along and not stuff that's brand new because it could get hung up for years in committee or could die or whatever. However, I'm going to break my rule because one thing kind of jumped out at me. House Bill 485, and it's being sponsored by Representatives Tom Young and Phil Plummer, who's kind of local here. but making changes regarding school internet safety policy. And I looked through it and whatever, and there's some details that are interesting. But honestly, the only reason I wanted to highlight it is because I realized that, there's so many unsung heroes in a school district like this, and one of them is our IT department. I never hear from them, and maybe more importantly, I never have anybody call me to complain about them. Like, for a complex organism like a school district to have things, I'm sure there's challenges and whatever, but as smoothly as everything goes, I think it's amazing. So I just wanted to call that out, that, changes regarding school internet safety policy, I've not heard of any problems. I've had nothing brought to my attention, and that just speaks volumes about the good work that our IT team does. So,
You do a great job.
yep. That's all I have for a legislative report. Next, OSBA Capital Conference Student Achievement from Mrs. Anderson.
Student achievement, they sent out a couple of newsletters recognizing April as the month of the military child and some of the challenges that our military population faces as far as being transient, that affects student achievement. Luckily, all of the recommendations are already being implemented in our district, so there really wasn't a lot to report there. Definitely like things like small group interactions, support systems. Yeah, there's our lunch groups. And then the second thing was the Ohio Attendance Task Force recommendations to improve school attendance. Obviously, that everything was already being done here. So good news on those fronts.
Thank you. BSCF from Dr. Pryor.
Okay, I went to the Bellbrook-Sugarcreek Education Foundation meeting in March. They're having their annual color run on Saturday, August 24th in the morning. That's the weekend of the Lions Club Festival. That's where everybody wears white and they run or jog or walk a 5K. And at various places, people throw colored powder at you. So you come out looking like a snow cone. And then they also have food trucks and snow cones at the end. So it's all a fun family event. It's their biggest fundraiser of the year. They're also looking for new members. If anyone's interested, they only meet 4 to 5 times a year. They use the money from their color run and they give teachers grants. Teachers can apply for a grant for a little something educational they want for their classroom that isn't in the school budget. And so the BSCF does that. They also do a couple scholarships to some graduating seniors. So if anyone wants to be a part of that, let me know. I will put you in contact with the members in charge, or if you know Tammy Phillipson, she's a longtime member and most people know her. You can contact her too. That's all.
Thank you very much. Financial Advisory and Safety Committee, Mr. Price. Did he share anything with you ahead of time?
Safety Committee is actually meeting tomorrow, and the Financial Advisory is probably going to meet early summer here. We met in mid-year, mid-school year, and so I would say probably in June that advisory committee is going to meet. But Safety Committee is meeting tomorrow.
Okay. So maybe more to come.
Yep.
Yeah. And last on our list, our Active Shooter Response Team Implementation Committee. Myself and Mrs. Dorn sit on that. Mrs. Dorn, did you have anything that you want to? So for me, not much to report. Everything's going extremely well. Couldn't be more pleased. Not so much from the team to report, but I had the privilege of attending. There was like a public safety town hall that was held in Xenia a couple weeks ago now that Sheriff Anger put on, along with Major Lon Etchison, Captain Dan Funk, who actually sits on our implementation committee here locally, and the Greene County Prosecutor David Hayes. And they were just talking a lot about public safety stuff. And school security came up from a question in the crowd, and Sheriff Anger actually talked a little bit and threw some praise our way and said that he just really appreciates all of the things and all the improvements that we've made in safety. So it's kind of neat to get a little public shout out in front of a very full room. So just wanted to pass that on to you guys. If anybody's interested in joining that team, always interested in talking to folks. I'm sure you'd be happy to answer questions if anybody wants, right? Yep. Anything else, committees or? Okay. So next we will welcome Mr. Phelps. Thank you so much again for having us. I didn't know that these tables sat up that way. So, multi-purpose.
I didn't either until I started setting them up like picnic tables, and my custodian was quick to tell me it needs to be more like a church pew. So now I know how it works. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm not sure if at this point that my reputation precedes me or not, so I'll introduce myself. Donnie Phelps. I am the building principal here at Bell Creek Intermediate, where we serve all of the Bellbrook-Sugarcreek local schools, students in grades 3 to 5. I've got to say that I would have never imagined that I could be any prouder than my teaching career as a high school, middle school Spanish and English language arts teacher, serving students here at Bellbrook High School. But this has been really the highlight of my career, coming into the elementary grades and amid the tail end of the worst of COVID, and learning all of those things that make elementary school happen, and how to fill gaps as needed, and also enrich and move people forward. Because here at Bell Creek, we serve or are planning to serve next school year 654 students in grades 3 to 5. That's a pretty big number, considering when I arrived, we had several people coming in from our online academy and homeschooling due to health concerns in the pandemic. And that number, at that time, our enrollment was maybe 571 or so at the end of the 21-22 school year. So we've definitely gone up, and going up in the head count also means going up in our diverse offerings and services that we need to provide our students. So amongst those 654 students, I can tell you that approximately 47% of them, so nearly half, are receiving specially designed instruction, either by virtue of our special education services and that programming, or by virtue of a gifted identification in one or more areas. And in the state of Ohio, we are obligated to identify students but not serve. But we are fortunate here in Bellbrook that we have such a population of gifted learners, and also quality or highly qualified, sorry, we do have quality teachers, but we have highly qualified teachers who either have the gifted intervention specialist endorsement or the high quality professional development hours that enable them to serve those students. So that is quite a task when you think about all the things that are happening in the bridge from early childhood with the littlest learners at Stephen Bell, and then our intermediate years as we prepare them for Bellbrook Middle School. So we're going to talk just high level about that. And then some other folks I have with me today, we're going to delve into some of the other things we're really proud of, especially right now. As Mrs. Anderson mentioned, it is April, the month of the military child. And this is also a really fun and exciting time of the year, because this is where we get to welcome all sorts of new people into our staff families and at all of our buildings. And so that's going to be an exciting part of the evening too, is introducing those new folks, and then wishing later, maybe next board meeting or so, wishing those other people who are retiring and starting a new chapter well as they move on. So Bell Creek Intermediate, this is where we focus on kindness being our culture, and in the motto of the district, as our vision statement is, better today than yesterday, better tomorrow than today. Really, you can't ask for any more than that, is incremental change and people trying to do their best, working toward their fullest potential. So we tweak it to be just soaring higher today than yesterday, higher tomorrow than today, because SOAR is our backbone of everything we do here. So it's the basis of how we teach and model for our students to behave and be good citizens and treat each other and function, so that we can do all the important things that we're trying to do here in school. So that would be the tenets that stands for. And so that's what we're talking about when you hear us talking about SOAR behavior, and what we're looking for in different settings and how that adjusts, because we do have to teach those things pretty overtly, reward them when those desired behaviors and expectations are met, and then also sometimes figure out how to balance the reteaching, accountability, and compassion, understanding that usually behavior is communicating something, whether you're 9 or 99, and you got to get to the bottom of that. Behind that behavior is a feeling, and behind that feeling is a need. And usually that is somewhere located in our MTSS system, which I'm getting to. So you met Mrs. Wellbaum. our music teacher, I've got to say, as part of our programming, and I have to thank the board for this, that there were times when during financial strife, a lot of the unified arts, or otherwise known as specials classes at the elementary grades, were had to be cut or eliminated, and we have been able to reinstate those. So I really do appreciate that. That has made a huge impact for our students in many ways, because as we know, not everyone can be great at everything, and I think that's one of the things that the youth of today do struggle with, that perfectionism and thinking they have to be perfect and have to succeed at everything, whereas people have prowess in the music, or maybe they're artistic, or maybe they're athletic. So when we have that rich programming and that diverse opportunity for them, then everyone can be successful and truly work toward their fullest potential, because as they turn the corner towards secondary levels, the options continue to broaden and they're more diversified. And then that gives them an opportunity to really find their passions and their niches as they prepare to be citizens of the world, which is our ultimate goal in any school district, is to graduate students and have them ready for colleges and careers. So Mrs. Wellbaum, I have to brag on her a little bit. If you don't know her, you need to get to know her. She has a phenomenal program, as do all of our specials teachers. It articulates up from grades 3 to 5, because there is a distinct difference with our transient students who haven't experienced certain units and things that are the foundational skills in grades 3 or maybe 4. And so when they really get into that, the ukuleles and things like that, there's definitely a gap there. But it is a great time to go in and see students learning really technical things in music that I certainly never learned in elementary school. It's very next level, and they're doing everything from Stevie Wonder to Taylor Swift and playing Bob Marley songs, all of it. Singing, instrumental. She's phenomenal. And even more than she's great in her discipline, she is the person who is out there in that car line every day. She knows everybody's name. She knows what cars they drive. She knows the dogs' names. She knows the little baby brother in the back seat. It is uncanny, actually, how she does that. She calls the names, and that's been a big enhancement here too, is some of those procedural things that have led to more efficiency and safety at arrival and dismissal time. So really proud of the team and all of the different talents that come together to do what's best for kids every day. And you can catch that choir at the Dayton Dragons game next year. They've been doing that for several years. Their special shirts weren't in yet, but they'll have them by May 1st. So if you're at the game, you'll see that. So, yep, this was them last year. So that was great to get back to that. Very proud of that. So I totally will admit I stole this from our partners at the Greene County ESC, and they have been really phenomenal in helping to support our Bell Creek staff, as we have all, myself included, been faced with challenges career first. We have student needs arriving on our doorstep almost daily. It seems like we just keep getting new students all the time. And it's things that we weren't trained to do in college, or don't have that expertise. And so we're trying to bridge that gap with our professional learning to catch up with the evolution of society and the education profession as a whole. And those things aren't unique to Bellbrook, because we talk to people all over the place and they're seeing the same things. Schools are just microcosms of society. But I love this image because I think this is what makes sense to people who maybe aren't in the trenches and engrossed in this work in the education profession. So when we hear that MTSS acronym, it's multi-tiered systems of support. And it may look different from school to school based on the different needs of different demographics. But I love that it's a table, okay? Because I know that when I was a kid, I did a lot of homework at the kitchen table with a lot of scolding and a lot of redirecting, because back then, no one would diagnose you with attention deficit disorder unless you were hyperactive, and I wasn't. So there was no Ritalin in my life, and I need a lot of redirection. I learned, post-graduate school that, oh, yeah, you might have a hard time focusing. I don't know how I got that far. I guess I have amazing coping skills, but that's what MTSS is all about. It's building in those coping skills and those strategies to mitigate different challenges that students might have to accessing, learning, and becoming their best selves, or they're reaching their fullest potential. That's our goal for anybody. So the table has legs. It's kind of hard to have a table without one. So the legs represent the different parts of it. social skills and executive functioning. I've added the executive functioning for those of you who've seen me talk about this before, because that's where my research really is this current school year. Is this is coming up more and more in early childhood and the students who are entering school in pre-K, kindergarten, and now coming up into the higher elementary grades. Because executive function is just all those things about being able to be organized and stay in your upstairs brain and your interactions with people instead of becoming angry, downstairs brain. And speech language pathologists are following this research and this need and trying to provide as much as they can to the field. But if those are things that someone is struggling with, pretend like that table leg is not there. If those things aren't in place, and those skill sets and those attributes are not there for a student. So now you have a three-legged table. So you can guess what starts to happen. Emotional regulation, same thing. Physical health, many of our students are medically fragile or have some other type of health impairment and require accommodations. Mental and behavioral health has certainly been on the rise in society, and it's no different for little people than it is for big people. So if any of those legs are missing, the table starts to wobble. And if you get down to a one-legged table, or no table, then the academics, which is what we're trying to get to in the first place, with all those supports underneath it, just fall off and become tertiary on someone's list of priorities. So growth and progress is our focus because everyone can grow and progress. Everyone can do a little better today than they did yesterday, a little better tomorrow than today. And then behind that is the achievement. And as you all know, Bellbrook-Sugarcreek Schools has not really struggled in the achievement area. We've always been a very high achieving district, notwithstanding the current report card and how we've shaken out for this year, which we're also proud of because I believe that Bell Creek and a lot of the things we've been doing here really helped to move that forward and get us out of the teens and into the single digits. So our current model, it's broken into tiers. So like tier 1 is universal. It's for everybody. Or there you might even say there's something before that, like the foundational things that are just put in place because prevention is better than cure, right? So these are all just some of the things that you might have heard about, like win time and flexible grouping, PBIS programming, IXL, exact path, zones regulation, all those things. So that's for everybody. Everybody gets that. Then your tier 2 stuff is like, 10 to 20%, depending on what the needs are in the different areas of the needs. So that's where you start to have like one-on-one counseling, maybe, or counseling groups. You might need to take sensory breaks, or we might have to do some diagnostic testing to try to figure out, what the need is and how to fill it. Those are some ideas. Tier 3, it's a much smaller group of people, much smaller group of students. So it's only like 5 to 10%. So we're talking, 50 to 65-ish students in the building. And so that's more intense intervention. So those would be like our students who are English language learners, or have more serious behaviors, need adaptive physical education, might have a food scarcity. We have the Eagle Eats program. There's so many supports in our community to support students in every sense of the word, and with those wraparound services for whole child support. So this is where you're like, whoa, do you really do all that? So this is it. Like, this is how the county divides up from their support system the different areas of an MTSS. So the bottom is just all that foundational stuff. Like, for example, the positive parenting sessions online. I know lots of our Bellbrook families participate in those. They always applaud the attendance from Bellbrook in terms of the comparison to the other county schools. But green is tier 1, yellow tier 2, pink tier 3, and all those different areas. So we're really trying to serve students from engaging families and students in school and being a part of the school community, that social emotional competencies like just good decision making, for example, is a part of that executive functioning, mental and behavioral health, data monitoring, because you can't tell if you're progressing and growing if you're not monitoring it, physical health, academic support, basic needs. I mean, that's the part that's really amazing. As someone who came from the secondary world, is that, if someone has a vision problem, by the time I had them in 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, that was all taken care of. Like, I didn't even think about it. We have teachers every day advocating for things like that. Like, maybe the student needs glasses. Maybe they need this. Maybe we try, and it's all a try it and see. That's what response intervention is about. So I'm going to let Mr. Klein talk about this. because I've said a lot. And he's done a lot of work here in one particular niche of our MTSS system. So
All right, thank you, Mr. Phelps. So, I I spent 25 years in the middle school and high school. And so, like Mr. Phelps said, by the time the students got to those levels, to that area, things were kind of set. The teachers have figured out what their needs are, but here at the younger level, we're trying to figure those things out. So when we've got a student displaying behaviors, we have to figure out what supports we've got to put in place. And so it's challenging, and it's more challenging than I even knew when I took this job. I'm very excited to be here because this is really exciting work to do all this stuff. So what we do is we have, like Mr. Phelps said, we have tier one interventions, and this goes for every student across the board. Everyone does this. So for example, in our classroom, we have the start. So we structure the classroom so the environment promotes positive behavior. We make sure all of our rules, all of our things are positively stated. That way, instead of yelling at a kid, say, don't run, it's like, please walk. And that little difference makes a huge difference in the student and the way they look at it. We teach our expected behaviors. We acknowledge our positive behaviors because, believe it or not, if you've got a group of kids, and Johnny or Zach probably is back there screwing around, I'm going to be honest, right? And the teacher says, "Great job, Billy. You did a great job listening." Well, I want that. I want that. So then I'll get in line a little bit better rather than just yelling at that back of the room. So we acknowledge our positive behaviors. We do respond to our problem behaviors. When there are things that need a response, Mr. Phelps and I work together and we figure it out. We've got a team of people and we respond to those behaviors and put those supports in to try to mitigate those behaviors. And then it's a teamwork thing. And when I'm at a loss, I'll go to Mr. Phelps, I'll go to Mr. Barker, I'll go to Mrs. Keller, I'll go to Mrs. Bobick, and we work together and we figure things out. And it's a really neat group of people we have here at BCI because we're all in on the kids. So that's what we do in our classroom, and that's every classroom has this model. We also have things that go. We're not there yet. So we also have things for responses to behaviors. So just on the right side, these are common behavior things. These are proactive ways to maybe the best way to stop a problem is before it happens. But once something happens, these are ways to respond. Okay, now we're good. Thanks, sir. Now, so as the PBIS system, we have tier 1 and 2 classroom managed behaviors. Those are things that happen. Billy forgets his pencil for the third day in a row. Those are all dealt with in the classroom. Tier 2 are kind of where they happen over and over again. Tier 3 comes straight to my desk. Tier 3 are things that are just we just don't do that. And that's the language we talk here at Bellbrook. We don't do that here. We use our SOAR behavior. We go with our safety and our ownership, and so on and so forth. We have those discussions with the kids. So in classroom managed behaviors, here's some prevention things, some consequences our staff can do. However, when it comes to me, this is what I'm going to do. And the staff needs to know exactly what to expect from me. And I always get back with them. We always have those conversations. So this is all part of what's called PBIS, Positive Behavior Intervention Supports. Now, it's a state law. And when I got here, we take what's called a tiered fidelity inventory at the beginning of the year. BCI scored a 7 out of 30 on that tiered fidelity inventory through the hard work. And this is hard work from the staff. And this is intentional work from the staff. And this is dedicated. We just scored a 24 out of 30. That's the staff. They did an unbelievable job. And so that's over a 300% improvement just this year alone. And so it's through that dedication. Hold on one second. It's through that dedication through all the intentional efforts and looking at the needs of the kids that we were able to do all that stuff. So this tiered fidelity inventory talks about data management, and it talks about agendas for meetings to make sure we're looking at this stuff to put supports in place. And it goes through a list of 30 things that have to be done, and these are state mandated. This has to be done by schools. And so it's a series of very specific list of this is what we do and this is what's best for kids, and there's data to prove that it lowers behavior problems, because the ultimate goal of all of this stuff is to get kids out of our offices and back in your classrooms, because That's where the learning happens. That's where the good stuff happens. That's where all the wonderful things that you get to do happens. Pretty fun hanging out with me all day, but it's much better to be in your classroom doing your stuff. Yes.
Commander, just one.
Good for me. All right. I think that's, is that correct? Is that my end? Thank you all very much. Have a great
So, we wanted to hone in though on one specific area because of the work that these ladies are doing so intentionally and so immensely right now, especially because of the month of the military child, and also because as we get to the end of the school year, and I don't care if you are in the first grade or the 12th grade, I have seen it in every level that I have worked in. Students become less regulated as big breaks approach. I don't care if it's Christmas. I don't care if it's a 4-day weekend. I don't care if it's summer. People start to kind of self-destruct sometimes. So more supports are needed around those times. Change is hard for everybody, especially those students who start to transition buildings. So we've got some exciting things in place for our second graders coming to join us. We've got orientation set up between our counselors, Mrs. Keaton, Mr. Klein, and I, and I'm sure it's coming. Mrs. Greg's gonna help us as well. And I don't want to be the spoiler alert. And also, we are working with much more intentionality to help our fifth graders make that transition to Bellbrook Middle School with Mrs. Hill and Mr. Killen. So that's great too. So I would really like to take this time, and this is my esteemed pleasure, to introduce Mrs. Danielle Taylor, our school counselor, and Mrs. Beth Bench, who is our military family life counselor. But as they're taking the podium, I want to also recognize that if she didn't know, she's going to have a baby very soon. We're excited for baby Taylor to come. And we have made some wonderful arrangements, Mrs. Keaton and I, to solve a lot of our counseling problems and staffing shortages this year. So we have Miss Nancy Beers, who is coming as Danielle's long-term sub to Bell Creek very soon, but she's been working with the folks at Stephen Bell for the greater part of this semester. So we're really excited to have Nancy with us, and I'm excited to work with Nancy again because I worked with her a long time ago. She was like my boss at Beaver Creek. So she's probably going to be my boss again if I know her.
Hi. So quickly, just school counseling overview. I feel like sometimes it's confusing what school counselors do versus like clinical. So just really quickly, like recommended ratio for students to a school counselor is 250 to 1. BCI, we have 650, so we're really busy. And then for school counseling, it's short-term counseling. So whereas like clinical counseling, that's long-term, that's more severe. So here at school, we're focusing on short-term. What can they do to be able to get through the day and be able to manage themselves to then be able to stay in class? We focus on academics, social, emotional, and the career. Those are our 3 domains. And then our goal for school counseling program is to teach character education skills. So that's like empathy, respect, responsibility, being able to handle yourself and your emotions, coping strategies, building positive peer relationships, and safety skills and advocating for the students. Those are like my main goals and focus for the school counseling program. And then broken down into 3 tiers, kind of how they were just talking about, but for school counseling specifically. Tier 1, we have the classroom lessons. So I go in once a month or almost once a month for 30 minutes and talk about different topics. I've done like conflict resolution, accepting diversity. We had Aaron's Law. That was a state mandate that we covered. And then for new student tours, any new student coming in, we get them a tour. I schedule them. That's just the baseline of any new students. And we've had a lot of new students this year, so that's actually taken up a ton of time. And then I'm also the test coordinator. That's for everybody. Tier 2 services, so small group, we have social skills. We started a divorce group, a boys group, a girls group, friendship. I'd like to do that more next year for sure. Get more groups going, but that's just basic level for small groups. That's between 6 to 8 weeks and about 4 to maybe 6 or 7 kids at a time in a small group, going over like similar things that they are all experiencing. And then individual counseling as needed versus like the tier 3 over there. Individual counseling is like a consistent basis. So hopefully I can see them more proactively
more, I guess, retroactively, where it's a once a week versus individual counseling tier 2. We're trying to be proactive and keep them still in class, but just check in on them. Check in, check out, that is focusing on positive behaviors. So we instead, like Mr. Klein was saying, like instead of focusing on the negatives of you're doing all this wrong, check in, check out focuses, here's your targeted behaviors. You get a 0, 1, or 2 throughout the day. We focus on all the good stuff. So even if you got a 0, let's focus on where you got the 1 or the 2. And getting 80% of the goal. So it's not harping on what you didn't do. And then hopefully it's motivation to keep on. I usually work towards a piece of candy and it works this age. So Jolly Rancher, that's all. I'm running out of blue Jolly Ranchers. So if you got any, go ahead and donate. And then 504 plans, attendance meetings, and then consulting, collaborating with teachers is what I do a lot. And then lastly, tier 3, I touched on individual counseling and then referring, especially Laura Taylor is a big referral that we have, and then doing risk assessments as well. That's about it for counseling. And then I also work with Beth Bench, who is our MPLAC, and she touched on a lot of this. But these are military kids, and this is on all of them. We have like 140 military kids here, but there are 80 that are like engaged with Beth Bench.
As Danielle said, my name is Beth Bench, and I'm the Military Family Life Counselor here in the Bellbrook-Sugarcreek District. This is my 3rd year. I'm a first placement here in the Bellbrook-Sugarcreek School District. So I wanted to explain a little bit about the MFLAG program because a lot of people don't understand how it works. So it began as a pilot program in 2004 in Germany when supporting mental health resources were being stretched due to the extended wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. There are now MFLAGs on over 200 military bases in the U.S. and overseas. So the mission of the MFLAG program is to augment existing support to active duty troops and families through the provision of non-medical counseling. And these services are geared towards short-term problem resolution. So the non-medical counseling approach is a psychoeducational approach, which helps participants learn to anticipate and resolve challenges associated with military life. So deployments, moves, it helps to prevent, or its aim is to prevent the development or exacerbation of mental health conditions that may detract from the military and family readiness. So as an MFLAG, we provide supports to individuals, couples, families, groups for a range of issues for deployment, reintegration, relocation adjustment, separation, anger management, conflict resolution, parenting, parent-child communication, relationship, family issues, coping skills, homesickness, grief, and loss. All of our MFLAGs are doctorate and master level providers. We're all board certified in the states in which we work as clinical counselors. We do not take notes, diagnose, or create a treatment plan. And this is a benefit to our military members because it doesn't create a paper trail that follows them around. If for any reason we believe that it's mission critical and we need to push things up the chain, then we will recommend our traditional counseling approach. So how that works here in the Bellbrook-Sugarcreek District is we serve the students through what's called walk around non-medical counseling. So I will meet with students anywhere they want to meet. As long as it's within the building, I can meet with families outside the building. We do topic-specific groups. We do grief groups. We do deployment. We assist in adjustments when people are moving in and out. We've had a lot of that this year. I think we've had a lot of military families moving in and out of the district. We do monthly lunch bunches that provide an opportunity for the military kids to get together with other kids that are just like them. And we celebrate Month of the Military Child with Spirit Week. We did donuts with the troops at the middle school. We had our first annual military ball. It was super cool. It was so fun. Everybody got dressed up and danced. It was awesome. We had a great DJ. And then I have the opportunity to provide resources for pretty much anything they can ask for. I can find sports teams for their kids to try out for. I can recommend a restaurant. I can recommend academic help from the state level with our Military Interstate Students Compact Commission and the Commissioner of PEP there. I can recommend our school liaison officer at Wright Pat who's joined us this evening. So my transition into Bellbrook has been so easy because Bellbrook already had so many things in place to support the military families. So it's really been a privilege to be a part of that system and join these guys back there. Thank you.
Thanks.
this, like we said, month of military was is this one. One more. These are just examples. It's a lot smaller than I thought it would be. But for Veterans Day celebration, we had families walk the halls. We decorated and had all the students lined up, and we did clapped, and they got to kind of just do a parade around. And then in the gym, all the military families got to. There's the high school came over and used to like the flag holding, and we had where every branch got to stand up for their song. And then over there's the military volunteer face painting and a lot of games and so a lot of I'm gonna be a good turnout in the military group. So every student got and that group got to color a little ribbon which was outside of everybody's classroom. So that kind of displays like a military child. So with that recognition too. That's just a couple things that we do here.
And also, they're being modest. They worked really hard this year to uh, reinstate or receive the designation once again as a Purple Star school in the state of Ohio for that military service to those military students and families. And that is something that was begun really a long time ago with the first Bell Creek counselor when this became a 3-4-5 building under one roof. So Mrs. Kelly Anderson was very passionate about serving the needs of our military families and students. And so she began that recognition and accolade for our school. And we were time to renew. So here, her very first year, gold stars, purple stars for Danielle. So we're very happy to have her. So as we're wrapping up here, this is really what we're doing here. Childhood is not really what it used to be. It seems to be more fleeting than ever for students. So what I see, especially having seen the other end of what maybe unmitigated academic struggles or other struggles look like when students arrive at 9th or 10th grade and maybe still are reading at a 5th grade level. Or whatever the issue may be, the gap widens and it gets much, much harder to fill and to help them to be successful and keep up with their peers and reach their fullest potential. Because, what we all know is that people shy away from things that they perceive that they're not good at. And the darkest of all human emotion would be shame. And so the antidote to that is acceptance. And by showing those kids acceptance and that they belong and that we're here to help you. And we do all of these things like the events and some of the things that you see here. It should be a magical, exciting experience. So that was the first thing I noticed right away, coming from the secondary world to here is that kids run into the building. They're excited to be here. They're enthusiastic. And then having been once upon a time a high school, middle school assistant principal where kids, you say hi to them and they'll like look the other way or pretend like they don't know you in public, that sort of thing. These kids, I noticed right away when I would come down the highway. I'm not seeing kids on the highway. They're not driving. We're coming down the hallway and they're like in line to go to music or whatever, and they're like, "There's the principal," like it's like you're like somebody famous, and just when you think that you've really reached the pinnacle of street cred with your people, then you let Mrs. Keaton into a pep assembly and much, much, much more excitement when she shows up. So there's the real OG rock star of the elementary team right there. But we're really trying to instill in young people to first and foremost be safe, because if you're not making safe choices, you can't do anything else. Take ownership and understand what that means for the things that we say, the things that we do, because words have meaning and they matter and we impact other people. Accept and respect other people, celebrate the similarities, accept the differences, and take responsibility because we all are in it together. And that's what we do here at BCI. We love it. We live our values every single day, and we've got so many cool traditions. I wish I would have thought right now. One of the coolest things of the springtime is that we have a duck that keeps returning to our courtyard because she flies over, lays her eggs. It's a safe environment from predators. And we have some very benevolent custodians that like to have a kiddie pool with fresh water every day and feed them. And so it's a real exciting thing. And it's been happening for years. And so she's going to start making a lot of noise here soon. And then we have to help her across all the ducklings through the building and out the back so that they can get over to the pond at Cables Mill. So we have all kinds of neat little things like that that I think those will be the things that are really indelible in kids' minds as they look back on their elementary years, because I can remember my elementary school, and this is my last little anecdote. I promise I'm going to stop talking. And I was terrified of the principal. She was a scary lady. She was no Mrs. Keaton. Okay, this lady was scary, and I was ill. I think I got diagnosed with asthma that day. I was having an asthma attack. I've never been diagnosed with asthma, and I would not go to the office. And the teacher knew there was something wrong with me because I was so afraid of the principal. So that was one of my first goals coming here, is that I didn't like what that the connotation of principal. Like people think, oh, somebody's in trouble, and I didn't want my presence to mean that something bad had happened or someone was getting in trouble. So I don't even use that. So people who know, if you know, you know. If you've seen the vanity plate, I'm the lead learner, because I don't have all the answers. We're all learning, we're all evolving more than ever before. Education is a changing landscape, and we're all trying to keep up. But I couldn't be prouder of the team here at our building. We have accomplished so much in just 3 years, and there's more to come. Probably the best is yet to come, because we've got some exciting new talent coming to join the current talent, and we can't wait. Well, we can wait. We don't want to skip summer, but we can't wait for next school year, really and truly, because it's always an exciting new beginning. That's the cool thing about being an educator, is that you always get to start over. And a lot of other professions, they just keep going. So anyway, thank you so much for your time and attention. We appreciate you being here. We love BCI. We hope you do too.
Thank you.
Thanks, team, for your excellent work. Always impressive and always kid first. So we really appreciate everything that all of you do, and that you guys put up there. It's a lot of work, but it's all to have a great learning environment, and we really appreciate everything that all of you do and all the staff does, teaching staff and support staff. So thank you.
You all are awesome. Okay, that brings us to open communication period. Take a look at our list. Anybody? Mike? Okay.
Oh, you didn't see the sign.
Sure. Yep, that's fine. Yeah, sure. I gotta say my little speech though. Is that okay? So you got a second there. Your thoughts and comments are very welcome during this time. When given the floor, please share your name, address, and any group affiliation you hold if it's relevant. You'll then have 5 minutes for your comments, which should be directed toward the presiding officer, who tonight happens to be me. This is the time for the board to listen and absorb, and as such, traditionally, a dialogue is not created in this moment. In case you're wondering, the reason for these policies, which can be read in their entirety on the district's website in policy number 169.91, is to ensure that as many people as possible have the opportunity to speak and that everyone is treated equally and fairly. So thank you for your patience for that.
Okay. Hello, Elise Thomason, 4024 Locust Bend. And first, I just want to thank, hi, Beth. You've helped my kids so much, and the kid of people I care about. So thank you. The first thing is, we have a doctor on the school board now, and she's not on the picture page. So
We were waiting for good weather. Yeah.
pictures are tomorrow, really? Um, The second thing I want to ask is, anyone who knows me knows that I really support teachers, and that includes support staff too. And I was wondering if the board might be open to a therapy dog program at the bus depot. When I went over a few months ago after the Springfield crash, I had a sense that it would be really tough for them, and it was. So I brought cookies. Um, and I offered my services as a post-critical incident coordinator, because I've done that kind of stuff with my real job. Um, and they found out that they have a lot of mental health support. That was great. What I would like to do is, this is a little out of the box, but my name is Elise Thomason, so that's um, that happens. Is do unskilled work with my dog every now and again. Um, this is Ivy. She's certified through Therapy Dog International. I think she's saved more lives from suicide than me, so she's definitely the fuzzy social worker. Just to bring cookies, but to do that and to ensure unskilled labor and insurance, I need to talk paperwork. So if you guys are open, I'm for it. The last thing I want to say is to Exige once again that I would really, really, really like free full day kindergarten for military families. There's the talk of taxes and tax use, and I would like to remind the board that every military child comes with federal funding. I had to read another article about food insecurity for the military, and that just really breaks my heart. I was lucky, my husband's an officer. We could afford kindergarten, but most enlisted have issues. And I think that all military families belong here, not just officer families. I think that all military serve. And I know we need to be mindful of taxes, but they put their lives on the line for us. I think that's quite important. And the issues that happen in teenagehood can be mitigated by early childhood support. So this is something that's really strong for me. If we need help identifying military families who are at risk, we have lots of abilities. The MFLET can do it as part of her job. Hi, Beth. We've got first sergeants in the Air Force, Family Advocacy, Airman and Family Readiness Center, and even the school liaison. So we have ways to do this. And I think we really ought to think about it because, guys, guess what? Texas gives free preschool and pre-K for military families, and we can't let Texas beat us. No. Texas even goes so far to say that, quote unquote, they do this for groups who are most likely to experience school failure. And they put military kids at risk with homeless kids, with English language learners, with kids in foster care. The risk is that high. So if there's a way that we can do this, at least for our enlisted personnel, um, I think that'd be great. That's it. Would you like to see a picture of my dog? This is Ivy.
Thank you so much for your comments. Thank you. All right, that closes tonight's open communication period, and we move into the superintendent's report.
Yes, exciting section here where I know we have a lot of fantastic people in the audience here. So we're going to do a consent agenda for superintendent's report, certificated license employment, resignation, leave of absence, supplemental duty. A and B, administrative central office employment, resignation, leave of absence. And then C, support staff employment, resignation, leave of absence. And D, substitute employment. So those 5A, B, C, and D consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Dorn and then Dr. Pryor. Anybody have any questions? Might do introductions here in a second. After we take a vote, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Dorn,
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey,
Yes.
and Dr. Pryor.
Yeah.
All right, we are going to do some introductions. So I know all those smiling faces out. I'm sorry. We're going to do introductions here of all of our new staff that are here tonight. So again, thank you for coming and know that I'm sure you already know this. This was a very rigorous process that you went through. And, we had a lot of applications for these positions, and to know that, you stood above everybody else and you just did a fantastic job, and you're joining a fantastic family here, hardworking, but cohesive and working together. And just know that we obviously had a lot of top-notch candidates, and you guys rose to the top. So we really appreciate that. So at the district level, this gentleman is not here. However, he is not new to the district necessarily. We have a new manager of business. Mr. Eckley is our new manager of business, former middle school principal, so following in the footsteps of Mrs. Sigmund in the manager of business. So we welcome him back after a year of retirement. So he will pick up in next calendar year. So again, we welcome him. Mrs. Keaton, would you like to go first of your staff, welcoming them? Yeah, thank you. Okay.
I have the pleasure this evening to introduce new staff members, and I would like to start with our kindergarten team. You don't have to get that in, darling. It's a love letter.
You bring the crunchy peanut butter, you're gonna get the habanero
I'm
jelly.
telling you, I'll be kind because, he did put me on his slideshow. It is very kind. And after all, they do take great care of our children, grades 3 through 5. So we greatly appreciate that. So with our kindergarten team, and then we do have the part-time program that the state affords us as well. And so with that opportunity, we are able to hire Mrs. Stephanie Barker. I'd like to introduce Stephanie Barker to you tonight. Oh, please stand. And so Stephanie Barker comes to us with 9 years, 7 years. I already graduated her up to 7 years of experience. And just recently down the road from Waynesville in a preschool setting. And so she has the luxury of being an intervention specialist and a preschool teacher. So double impact that she will join us as a purple and gold kindergarten teacher. And she will be in the hallway next door to Stephanie Caro. So it will be the Stephanie corner. And it's going to be quite lovely. And I know that our interview team, we have a few members here from our interview team, they were all just dying to have Stephanie Barker join our building. And I know Mrs. Huff is very eager to have her join the kindergarten team. And her husband actually teaches here at Bell Creek. So we will have the Barker family, the Bellbrook Eagles. So thank you so much for welcoming her this evening. And then in first grade, we have Kaylee Clark joining our first grade team. Kaylee Clark is a Bellbrook grad, so if you recognize that face, we are very proud to have a Bellbrook Eagle join us in first grade. She has been doing her student teaching under the wings of Heather Hebrink, a second grade teacher. And Kaylee comes highly recommended from Cedarville College. Dr. Kevin Jones gave her a glowing recommendation. I serve on the Cedarville College Dean's Council, so I was thrilled when I read that recommendation. So Kaylee will join the first grade team, and I know they're very excited to have her join them. And then joining the second grade team, we have Rachel Olson joining us from Mount Healthy. Rachel comes to us with 5 years of experience, and she's going to be moving to this area. And I think she's in a pleasant surprise that she doesn't have to drive, 45 minutes to an hour. And she actually is teaching right now 10 students. 10. And we all thought that was a dream. And she said, no, it's not. You really can't carry on a conversation because if 2 are absent, it's not fun. And I'm like, well, let the fun begin. Because right now in second grade, oh, Mrs. Kreider, how many do you have this year?
26.
Oh, 26. We don't want 26 anymore. So we are so glad to have Mrs. Olson join us, as well as Miss Denlinger. Miss Denlinger is going to be joining us in second grade. Hannah Denlinger is one of our student teachers right now. She's a Wright State student teacher getting ready to graduate, just like Kaylee Clark. And Hannah has been studying and practicing with, let's see, right next to her, Rachel Pierce. And Hannah's been doing an outstanding job, and we are delighted to have Hannah and Rachel join in the second grade team. So we're thrilled to have both of them in second grade. And because now we have an opening in second grade, that means for the first time ever, Stephen Bell Elementary is going to have their very first assistant principal. Woo! Yes. So, I don't know who is more excited, me or my husband. And so, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much to Dr. Kozad and to the board members. I'm going to cry. I'm not going to cry. But I am so grateful that the 609 students at Stephen Bell Elementary are going to have more support because there's just too many needs. You saw all of this tonight. There are only 5 to 8 at Stephen Bell, and they have big needs. So I want to proudly introduce Heather Hebrink tonight, second grade teacher, but no longer a second grade teacher because you just approved her as our very first assistant principal, and I'd like to introduce her family tonight. So Mr. Hebrink, Bethany Hebrink, and Abigail Hebrink, because this has been a family affair for Heather to obtain her administrative license. I think she had 2 weeks to practice for her state licensure test. She didn't just pass it, she killed it. And there are many people that I have mentored along the way to become a principal. 3 right now in the building, and I would have been equally proud if any of them would apply. Heather put her nose to the ground and she worked really hard. She wanted this position. She proved to the interview team. It was a question whether or not one of our colleagues could take on the leadership. And without a doubt, our interview team knew that she was ready to work with us. And so I am extremely grateful that we are going to have someone join us on the leadership team. And Heather, would you like to share anything? I'm going to put her on the spot.
Well, I just honestly am so humbled that I was even considered for the position. It's something that I've had my nose in for a long time and been interested in, but didn't want to leave this amazing school district. So to have this opportunity and to work with these fabulous people that I have the pleasure of working with every day I couldn't ask for more. So I'm just so excited to continue working in this role and continue working with these amazing people. So, and this is, so I'm so grateful. So thank you.
And then just one last thing. Thank you again for the short-term counselor opportunity. Oh wow, Nancy Beers is top notch. And so as she is going to be heading over to Bell Creek, Nancy, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being there and helping Whitney Nipper. BCI, hold on, because it's going to be a great ride for the last month, because she will run circles around all of you and keep up with all of you. She is amazing.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Welcome to our Steve Bell staff. Mr. Phelps, BCI staff.
I told you about Nancy, I warned you. So you're gonna get dizzy because she's gonna run so So this is a big year for Bell Creek in terms of hiring new staff. We have several retirements. We also have a very large class of 2034. That is so crazy to me to say that. I'm like, wow, I'm getting up there. So we're going to be adding 2 sections of 3rd grade, replacing a retiree in 4th grade, 2 retirees in 5th grade, and I know this is going to be hard for the whole community here, but Mrs. Malice, our school nurse, is retiring. And everybody knows what a phenomenal school nurse she is. So we have selected in much the same way, because even if Mrs. Keaton likes to throw zingers now and then, we really do make a great team as the K-5 leadership, and yes, fortunate to have some help in doing that now. We got together, we have now, because of the state changing licensure once again, so we had candidates in both pools, so we had to kind of create a system to make sure that it was equitable and that candidates had similar experiences in both buildings, and really just maintaining that alignment, because it's really important that our programs articulate up and then ultimately to Mrs. Hill and Mr. Killen at the middle school. So our team, much the same, interview team, panel of teachers, volunteers who gave up time with their families and their personal lives to participate in interviews for several evenings, because we had several positions. And I think, Dr. Krizak, can you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think by the time it's going to be all said and done, we're going to be at like 10. But tonight we're looking at just this first series of 6 from this first staffing venture we met on this spring. So replacing Nurse Malice is Carol Chan, who is a community member, is also a coach with the Wheat Eagles. She has lots of emergency room experience and also has spent a good amount of time over the last year and a half or so working with Mrs. Malice as a substitute nurse in the district. So we're very happy to have her, and we know that our students will be in good hands, and she'll be, while those are big shoes to fill, she's already got at least 1 foot in. So we're confident that that's going to be great. Also, I'll go in order of grade level. For our 2 new 3rd grade positions, we're going from 8 to 10 next year, with the rising class being a little bigger, we are employing tonight Anna Hibner for 3rd grade. Anna could not be here today. She has fallen ill, but she is currently doing her student teaching in Tecumseh, and she is going to be graduating from Cedarville as well. So we're very excited to have Anna come along. We have a candidate moving into the area from Westerville, also in 3rd grade. This is Caroline I. We're really excited about her diverse experience and what she's going to offer. She's got some really rich experience specific to the different areas of our MTSS and what we are trying to grow, the areas that we're trying to grow in with our new needs. This is probably the most entertaining part of this is 4th grade, we had but 1 position for retirement. And 4th grade's a little different because people start to become more departmentalized and they work in teams. And so one person teaches math and science, the other person teaches language arts and social studies, and they share their students. And so as someone's team partner is departing for retirement, along came Alyssa Ford from Vandalia. And Alyssa, welcome. Brings a wealth of experience in co-teaching. Currently, with her teaching partner in Vandalia, they have an accordion wall. We do it all right there in the room with 2 groups of kids, and just take care of all the needs. So our teacher, it's almost like she is the blonde version of our teacher, Ashley Martin. And so it was like, she was ready to be done with the interview process. She's like, that's what we want. 4th for 4th, it rhymes. I was like, this is not elementary school student government campaigning. But anyway, she was very convincing. So they got their way, and we're happy to have Mrs. Orth in 4th grade. And in 5th grade, because we have Mrs. Geis is retiring, after I believe 24 years. I believe she started in about year 2000. And Mrs. Peg Williams is also retiring in 5th grade. And Peg has spent her entire 34 years serving the students of Bellbrook-Sugarcreek local schools, so that's a pretty illustrative career. And to replace these two ladies, we have two more ladies. I'd like to introduce Rachel Martin, who is an upcoming Wright State grad. We're very happy to have Rachel. And we also have Allie Seifert, who is coming to us from Fairborn. I will say this was it's a lot of work. I'm sure Dr. Cuso will definitely agree because he used to do them all the buildings. But it's a lot of work with all the HR things that have to happen, but it's really rewarding when you get to sit at the table with such a quality candidate pool and you're sifting through, over 100 applicants because people are interested in our district and the things that we're doing and the successes that we have and want to be a part of that energy and that dynamicism. So it's really great to have those people come to the table and then also be bringing those new talents because all across the board, almost every one of these people, you just hear over and over the vision and the philosophies were student-centered and trauma-informed and taking care of kids, but also understanding the nuances of gifted learners and also students who maybe need a little extra support. It was just phenomenal. It's so exciting to know that we're bringing even more of that talent along with our current staff, and it's going to be great. So we're going to just keep rocking it as our K-5 team. Welcome.
Staff. Tonight there's no one from the middle school, but that'll probably be next time we'll have someone from the middle school. The high school, Mr. Hand.
I'm going to be very brief because that's how I roll. I'm Dave Hand, principal of Bellbrook High School, and I have the pleasure of introducing Mr. Barry Lyman. Barry is going to be our new assistant principal at the high school. He comes to us with 5 years of admin experience. Currently the principal at New Miami High School in Butler County, kind of near Hamilton. And we're really excited to have him. He's taken Todd Whalen's place, and as you guys know, Todd, after 5 years, is now the principal at Xenia High School. So big shoes to fill, but I know Barry's going to fill them just fine. So we're really excited about having him on the team. And anything to say?
Just first off, congratulations to all the new hires. This is an amazing district. I feel truly blessed to be here. I want to thank you guys for the opportunity. I'm looking forward to working with the students, working with the admin team, and getting to know people in the community. So thank you. Congratulations to you all.
Barry's going to be a great addition to not only our staff, but also the district team as well. And looking forward to it. Thank you.
That is a large portion of our hiring, but we still have some more hiring to do. So at our next meeting, there'll be some more candidates, more recommendations at that point. That concludes this section. So we're on to the next section.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Items for discussion information. Anything to share? Good. Okay. Then at this time, I would like to make a motion that we move to executive session for the purpose of preparing for, conducting, or reviewing negotiations with employees regarding their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment per RC 121.22G4.
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Dorn. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Dorn,
Yes.
Mr. Kinsey,
Yes.
Dr. Pryor,
Yes.
and Mrs. Anderson.
Yes.
All right, we are in executive session at 8:19. Y'all are welcome to stick around if you want to. We do not anticipate taking any action whatsoever when we get back, but you're welcome to be here if you want. Thank you so much for coming. It's really great seeing everybody. Back. Okay, we are out of executive session at 9:07 p.m. I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Seconded by Mrs. Anderson. Please call the roll.
Mr. Kinsey,
Yes,
Dr. Pryor,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Dorn.
Yes.
we are adjourned at 9:07. Thank you, everybody.